Well, Raili, hello. It's good to see you.
Well, hello, Rick.
It's good
Great
to see you. What do the kids
person.
say? IRL in real life?
Yeah. I think so. I'm just learning that.
Well, this is going to be an exciting conversation. Now, see, this is not our first time at the rodeo.
No.
So we've had conversations before on the podcast. In fact, you were one of my very first guests on the podcast, which I appreciate.
Oh, and now you're up to like 8,000.
Like something like that. And then a year into it, we turned the tables and you interviewed me for the anniversary episode, which was so much fun.
Good.
But the camera's new to us.
Yes.
Or at least it is to me.
Yes.
So I'm excited to kind of continue our conversation, and I'm honored that ASID has asked us to do that. To kind of benefit the design community and to support their annual Expo and Business Boot Camp, which is a new program that they started.
Wow.
Yeah.
I should go to that. I need some boosting.
You're invited. We're all invited. It's for everyone. It's the entire design community. I think it's a really valuable program. And so this conversation, this interview is going to allow us to kind of tell the design community a little bit about you and your journey of design to kind of like inspire other designers to go there.
Okay, let's do it.
Are you down?
Yeah, I'm down.
Perfect. So the intention of the conversation really is to talk about where you came from and where you're going. So let's start with where you came from, because I know your backstory, but not everyone else does. So let's talk about kind of where it all began.
Well, right after college, I was a flight attendant. How's that? That's how it started. But quickly I got into the fashion industry, and the main portion of that 18 years was spent at Quicksilver, pioneering the Roxy line. I'm sure at this point now Roxy's kind of, outplayed its course, and I think it's still around, but super exciting time for the whole women's sportswear industry.
It was a big deal.
It was a big deal, and it
movement.
was so fun just being a part of that, and really the first part of that. Quicksilver was the first one that said, okay, we don't have to just, we can now address women who like to surf and who want that lifestyle. So that was super fun. Fast forward to after that, I started a hip housewares company with my best friend, and that was called Alice Supply, and that was basically like designer toolboxes and really cool, like sort of Paul Smith stripes on brooms and dustpans. It was fun.
I remember that.
And then we got, we sold that company, and during that stint with Alice, we had got a lot of press because it was very unique. And the press kept saying, what does your house look like? And I'm like, well, it's not so great. It was okay, but it was not, didn't even know what an interior designer was. I sort of just did our house with stuff we had, stuff I thought was cool. However, we ended up buying a new house and it needed a remodel. And the first thing I did was, I feel like I need some help. I really want this house to be super cool. I don't know how to do it. And I saw someone's house, and I was like, who helped you with this? And I hired an interior designer. I didn't even know what she did. I didn't know. I was just like, I want you to
I love
to
that.
be
Who
in
did
charge.
this? Who did this?
So about a week in, she called me and said, you're gonna die. I just got engaged. And I'm like, that's awesome, congratulations. And she said, and he lives in the UK, and I move in there like next week. I was like, well, okay. So I had literally, this is before Pinterest. So I had like a West Elm catalog, a bunch of vintage stuff, because I've always been a big flea market monger, and maybe a restoration catalog, the physical catalog. I'm like, yeah, I can do our house.
Here we go.
Anyways, did it, loved it. I think a couple of magazines shot it, and then it was on this Newport Beach home tour.
Right.
And I must give them the credit, because they were like, oh, let's put your house on there. It's very prestigious to have a home on there, because 1,700 people in the community come, and really it's torturous, because if you ever went on one of those, you'd hear like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that, and oh my gosh. So I was throwing my card out there, and literally throwing my card out there, because I was like, well, that was a fun journey. I might want to do this. And so I bought like 50, not 100, but 50 business cards, because I did not want to spend the extra $8 or whatever, and put them out on the table. Within a week, I probably had about 6 jobs, and not big ones. I mean, can you help me with my son's room? I'm thinking about a new sofa. Can you help me with that? Very small projects.
Right.
And then fast forward, I think that was about 7 years ago. And then one of those people had a big project. Like we just built this beautiful house and we need help for, it was huge. And I don't think I breathed regularly or slept because I was very, that was my, if I can make this cool,
right.
This person is a big figure in the community and the word will spread.
Yes.
And then that's kind of what happened. That also ended up getting in a magazine and the rest was history. And then Instagram came about. And so I started throwing stuff on there. And that's literally, it was so organic. It couldn't have been more organic.
Yeah.
I never set out to be an interior designer.
Right. But the stars aligned.
The stars aligned and I kind of dipped my toe into it and went, I love this. Why haven't I been doing this the last 20 years?
That's amazing.
You know, and I was in my mid 40s at this point. So, you know.
So you would consider interior design like a second career for you? Is
Third,
that fair
really,
to say? Third
because
career?
Fourth if you want to count my flight attendant days.
There you go. Well, I think that's important to note because I think people need to realize that it's really kind of never too late to pursue this sort of passion.
No.
And
it's not too late at all.
Never,
I talk about that a lot.
Good.
A lot of my friends at that age are like, oh, well, you know, I've been raising my kids and, you know, well, I don't know how to get back in there. And the answer is to dive.
Right.
And just, if you take fear out of that, ask myself, what's the worst thing that can happen? No one hires me. Okay, well, you know, that's the worst thing. Right. Is that terrible? Is that going to, no, it's not going to kill me. It will be a real result of maybe this isn't for me.
Sure. There's only one way to find out.
There's only one way to find out.
The reason that I'm glad that you're sharing a little bit about your background is because, again, going back to the whole second or third or fourth career, I think it's important for design professionals or aspiring design professionals to know that, you know, all of that past experience is really very valuable. And what I think is great about you is that, you know, you leverage that past experience in sales and product development. I mean, you were designing well before you printed your first 50 business cards for the Newport Harbor Home Tour, right?
Yeah, I think so. In my mind, again, it was more, I was in the fashion sector.
Sure.
So it was more about clothing, trends. What I wore every day was a big thing. Now I'm just basically like pulling things out. Now my focus is what a home looks like. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, I still am very aesthetically involved in like aesthetics and everything from my car to my clothing, but it's not something I think about. It's come down the list about 5 notches because really what I like is art and and siding and kitchens and things like that.
So like interiors is now
all
front of mind.
Interior, yes.
So
and interior details.
Exactly. It's all in the details, right?
Yes.
So you clearly began to develop relationships and you learned early on, you already knew how valuable those relationships are and where they could take you. And then you obviously began to develop your design business.
Yes.
What was that process like?
Well, another promise I made to myself was, so many times, especially early on, people would show me pictures of things they liked and they just wanted me to follow that. Right. And very, very early, I was like, well, if I don't love it, I was confident enough to say this, I appreciate this. This is just not my style. I just don't think it's a good fit. Right. And I want to say, I really want to drive that point home because now it's different because people really, they hire me not through word of mouth. Because back then it was like, oh, I have a friend who's a designer. Now it's everyone seems to be wanting a designer these days, but they are focusing in on like-minded styles. So, but back then I think they were like, well, we just need help buying this stuff. And we don't even know where to go.
You're a designer, you have a resale, you can help me.
Right. So, but early on, I could tell by a person's personality, the things they were showing me, and I was not afraid to say no, even though I was desperate for work. and not desperate like, oh, I can't make my rent, because I had a career already that allowed me to play around in this and basically not make money for a while. But I think that's an important part because you are from day one building your resume and your resume has to reflect you. So if I put some of those projects on, let's say Instagram right now, you'd be like, who is that? That doesn't even look like stuff Raili does.
Exactly.
Because of the kind of jobs that would have been out there that I didn't take.
I think that was a very valuable commitment that you made for yourself and for your business. And I think every design professional is faced with that same challenge. And I think the newer you are to the business, or the newer you are to business in general, the harder it is to get to that place. But once again, I feel like, utilizing or leveraging your past experience in business, you learned how to say no already. You already knew how to say no. You already knew what boundaries were. I feel like you just reestablished those boundaries for your design business.
True fact. Now, I still have a lot to learn with boundaries. However, but the kind of jobs I took, I also want to say my age had a lot to do with it. Because if I was 22 doing that, there's no way. I would have taken anything and everything that was coming my way. Because you don't have the confidence at that age. I don't think anybody really does. And you're so desperate to do that. I already had a really good career. Right. I already had a few good careers. So the age, I don't want to just like say, oh, you got to be that confident when, for people starting out in their 20s right after design school.
Sure, right.
If you can get to that place and sort of just try to be that, I think you would elevate yourself and your future business tremendously.
Right. So strive to be there. Make that a goal.
I think so. Even if you're
strategy.
faking yourself out,
right, which sometimes you got to do.
You got to do it. You got to fake like I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. Even though inside you're like, whoa. So yeah.
So I know that from talking to you that you developed a team. You surrounded yourself with people who knew things that you didn't know.
Yes.
You know that saying of surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. You surrounded yourself with people who had skill sets that maybe you were lacking and you saw were necessary to succeed in design. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yes is the answer. And now I look now where we are, they do all the heavy lifting and all the research and I now am running a business and overseeing all that. But for many years, I hired people who were very good taskmasters, very detailed, because I have a little bit of squirrel, and I just needed someone. My girls, their biggest job, and if they were sitting here, they'd all be nodding, like they're honing me in.
Yeah.
And they're bringing me all these ideas, and then I can sort through them, and then together we sort of come up with the end product. But one other thing that is so important, I never took a design class, and I also never took a CAD class or any kind of drawing, and that's so important. Our first jobs were, I barely brought a tape measure.
Right.
Now we are not even stepping into that house with any kind of design plan without fully floor planning it, space planning it, elevating it.
Right.
And I don't do any of that. I wouldn't even pretend to know the names of the software that we use. They just tell me, and so they're very good at that. And that all that does is just make our projects. There's less room for error, and there's more.
For sure.
There's more. We can just sort things out on paper before they become like drama in the house.
Right.
An install or something.
I think what's important about that message is that, as design business owners, we need to really evaluate like our strengths and our weaknesses, and more importantly, know what it is that we bring to the table. Like, you're the visionary. We already have a visionary. We don't need to hire 2 more visionaries. We need technical people. We need people that draw in CAD.
Yeah.
We need runners, things like that. And I think that a lot of design professionals kind of get stumped in that growth period when it comes to, growing the team and making bad decisions. So I'm glad that you kind of, explained how you did that.
Yes. And for a long time, I just had one assistant who did all the ordering and the managing of the orders. And I was too afraid to bring on anybody in design and let go. That's a tough part.
I bet.
So to actually have somebody else have a say in our design projects. And now, I've had one of my designers we're going on 6 years. She's been with me, since year 2 or 3, and she basically is my brain now. So those kind of investments, meaning, and I feel like I've not challenged her, begged her to stay. Those are investments that, God, you can't even put a price tag on it.
Sure.
because to have somebody after all those years, she comes up with what I would come up with before I come up with it. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
But it takes a while. I can't say that comes overnight, and you can't hire anybody. And it took years and years. And now she'll be like, okay, let's review. And I'm like, we definitely don't need to review. You got this.
That's great.
I do, and they feel more comfortable. I tell the clients, you're not going to see me the most. You're going to see the design assistant. So, but you have my word that I'm involved. There's not a piece of hardware, cabinet hardware, that I don't look at, approve, and quander over.
Right.
Right. I see every detail of it. It's just I can't for the amount of projects we have, I can't be the main person on all of them.
No way. But it's important. I'm glad that you noted that you do kind of oversee everything and you touch everything, because I know there's a lot of designers out there who are thinking, I could never, let go like that. And the reality is we never really let go like that. We're still in it. It still goes home with us, and the design is still a part of us. But as you grow to a certain level, there's just no way that you can run every single job unless you just want to have 2 or 3 jobs a year for the rest of your career, which is perfectly fine.
And let's talk about that for a minute. There's something to that. I had no idea. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't know if it was just going to be me forever, and I was fine with that.
Right.
But I got very excited when some big jobs were coming my way, big, good, juicy jobs. And so I kept saying, yes, 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 yes. And because there was a lot of good stuff coming. Yeah. And I feel like last year, once COVID hit, I thought, oh, good, some of these jobs are going to go away, and it was the opposite. Yeah. So then I had to make a decision. Do I want to be? I know there's some big design businesses out there with 20 to 30 designers. Like,
sure.
Do I want to be that? Because I could probably if I took all the jobs, but I really had a good therapy session with myself and I, and I was like, that's exciting and it's fun to say, you're growing stuff, but it really wasn't. I wasn't, I was going home. I still have a kid at home. My husband, I was just like working till I fell asleep and waking up and doing it. And that's not really what I want for my life.
Right.
So we're busy. We're still too busy. And I would actually even like it to decline next year and keep my same crew. We're in this very small office that I never want to leave. And so I'm going to stick with the boutique idea.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure so many design professionals struggle with that same dilemma. And on one hand, in that therapy session, you're saying, I really want to grow and be this big deal. And then on the other hand, you take into consideration your personal life and your family and your other priorities. And everyone has to establish that balance, and it's different for everyone, but everyone has to have that conversation with themselves.
And trust me, it is not a balance. It's still so off skew. And I also thrive on the busyness. I like to run that way naturally, and not everybody's like that. The girls in my office really aren't like that. They're very calm and focused, which makes us a good team.
Yeah. So it's manageable.
Totally.
Let's talk about press for a second, because you had mentioned earlier that, you have relationships with media from your previous careers. And you're obviously a media darling when it comes to interior design. What could you, let's just pick maybe 3 things that you would say you do consistently with your design business that helps attract editorial?
Yeah, editorial. And I don't have, there's not really I don't have a clear answer, because it's come, and this is going to sound weird, but it just comes to me.
Yeah.
Now I don't, every project that I have pitched, that I come away, the photographs are amazing. It's different enough, because really what editorial people want is different.
Yes.
There's so many designers out there doing, nice, like coastal California, they are. There's so many. I could name 10 in 5 miles.
Exactly.
And they do a beautiful job.
Right.
But what I've, what they're looking for is just like, what's that twist? How do you make that more interesting so that our magazine can look more interesting?
What's your angle?
Yeah. So we've been really lucky. And when I say lucky, I know it's not just all luck, but I feel like the product we're putting out, it's a little more kitschy. And I say this all the time. I want to be like north of normal and south of weird. You know, I want to be like in there.
Right in there.
So it's not like, oh, okay, cute, or oh, pretty, or not like, ooh, gosh, did you see how crazy that is?
Right.
But something like, wow, well, I would have never thought of that. And my mind, and it's not for every room, but every project has a little bit of an oomph.
Mm-hmm.
So press has been, if I, right away when we're shooting the project, the photographer and I, and possibly the architect, we're like, this is like, for instance, the one that was in Domino magazine. That's my favorite publication. I was like, it's my dream to be in it.
Right.
And I didn't really have a project because I know with them, and they really want the unique.
Yeah.
And we all walked into this project with Karen Millay, and we all went, this is the Domino house.
This is the one.
This is it. And so I don't throw stuff at Domino all the time.
Sure.
That was just the one.
No.
So, you know, the context I have, first of all, editors, they come and go. My mind is shifting. I want to address that. Mm-hmm. I used to be so hyper-focused on magazines, but the magazine world, I still buy them, I still love them. The magazine world, you know, some of the best publications out there are going to buy monthly. Yes. They're going from 12 to 6.
I know.
The magazines are getting thinner.
Yeah.
The advertisers are putting their money in Instagram. So I had a project that was being held up with a magazine, I won't name names, and they had it for all, they absolutely were putting it in, we just don't know when, and almost a year went by. And
oh, wow.
I at that point I was like, and that happens. It
totally happens.
It's a year and a half. It's never like, okay, it'll be in next month, because they've got a plan.
Sure, yeah, they've got an editorial calendar.
I personally now would rather, with a good feature, get with a good like ad.com or eldecor.com, right? Because they get it out there fast. Yep. They get it out. They do a great job, and their audience, they've
wide.
It's millions instead of hundreds of thousands, you know, in a magazine. And when you're looking at a magazine, I mean, I barely read the articles unless it's like, whoa, who did that, you know? And so it equates to something when it's online. You get more followers, and for whatever that's worth. I've never been a follower chaser, but I see that some things happen when those online presences. So that's the way of the world, and I'm kind of rethinking this whole wait a year for my projects to be.
Thanks for sharing that. That's a good angle. And I also think, you know, that that sweet spot that you were describing
is more like that.
Is it more like this? Okay, whatever it is, I think it's cool. I mean, obviously looking through your portfolio, there's so many unique items and so many unique moments in your space. And I feel that has not only helped you with the media, but it has also probably helped you fine-tune the type of clients that are coming to you, because they know that they want something different. They want something in that pocket, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because there are so many designers out there. And I think it's important for design professionals to hear that you will really be doing yourself a favor by trying to find that pocket for yourself. I feel like every designer needs to have one.
Yeah, I would think so. And again, I have not overthought any of these. You know, I like, okay, what are we going to be, or what are we going to do? It is 100% organic. It's like the people that now come to me, they know my work. The first thing they say, if like I get an email, that's how it starts. If they say, oh, my friend told me about you, and you know, and they haven't even really looked at my work, I'm really just talking them out of it. Like, if you don't, if you're calling me because of a referral, you really need to like take some more time and see if this is a fit. Because,
but when they say that I saw the yellow piano, and I'm dying,
then I'm like, okay, let's talk.
Let's talk, right? Exactly.
Yeah, let's talk. So the client thing is my most tricky part for sure, and because you just don't know. You don't know what you're getting.
I think we can all agree to that.
Yeah.
I think
they seem so nice at the beginning, and I'm like, this is going to be great. And a year and a half in, you're like, ooh, that's tricky. And then the ones that are super straightforward, you're like, well, that's a little cold. And they end up just being awesome, because I love straight shooters.
Sure.
Like, nope, I don't like that. Okay. And
now I know what you don't like.
And instead of, well, I'm gonna go ask all my friends and get their opinion, you know.
Yeah.
So So the client thing is the most, like, I wish that there was some kind of a test we could all take. So
no kidding.
And they probably feel the same way about us,
right?
You know. But for the most part, I mean, 95% have been great, but those 5 can take you down.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the 5%, one every couple of years, and I've had a few of those.
There's always 1 or 2.
Yes.
So let's transition to where you're going. So, where do you think this is going? Where is this ship headed towards?
Well, so lots of opportunities this past year have come my way. I, having whatever you want to call it, squirrel syndrome.
Shiny object.
Shiny object. I want to expand. I want to expand only, not because again, it's not a business decision, it's a hobby decision, meaning collaborations. So Concrete Collaborative, Raili, let's do a tile together. Let's do so. Yes, I will absolutely. I get to design a tile. I'm like thrilled.
Yes.
I actually designed like 2 or 3 of them. Slightly Choppy. This was like this, you know, I was coming from the surf industry. Salty Furniture, which is a furniture company out of France. We did a surfboard coffee table collaboration.
Right.
Slightly Choppy said all these designers are coming to me and they want to do something, and you know, I know him from the surf industry, so he's like, I got if I'm gonna do something, I kind of got to do it with you.
There you go.
Like, okay.
Sign me up.
And that was really like such a. I was just my husband like. There's no prouder moment for him. He was just like, that's so authentic and cool, and I just, you know, love Slightly Choppy for that reason. That he, you know, wanted to keep it authentic.
There you go.
And then really the most kind of exciting thing is something I was sharing with you before about the TV show. We've been hit up a few times, and they a big production company just did a sizzle reel. I have no idea if it's going to get picked up, but it's certainly, those kind of things are fun and exciting and new.
Yeah.
So if that kind of goes forward, you know, we're going to have to figure out a different business model, because I cannot take all the projects that we have currently going forward.
Right.
And then I think that you and I haven't talked about it, but there's a new platform called The Expert. And it's very interesting how that is changing the culture of design.
Yeah.
I only put myself out there, I think 4 hours a week, but it's one-on-one video. So I don't have any pre-work. I kind of look at what they want to talk about.
Sure.
And then it's very shoot from the hip, which I like. And I feel like people are getting a lot of bang for their buck in that hour. It's very focused. They've got to do all the work, but if people are on a budget and they can't hire us as a designer, logistically true. And so I'm like, yesterday, someone just wanted to know, all we did was talk about the siding. And if I had a normal project like that, that would take, you know, 10 hours, you know, but we're getting the samples, we're doing all the runaround, we're checking different widths. So I'm giving all that to them, and they have to do the work, but it's the same result.
Right.
For like a tenth of the price.
Yeah, you're setting them off on the right path, and then they're off to the races.
Exactly.
That's such a great program.
It's
I've heard great things about it.
Yeah.
On the designer side and the consumer side, because of the access.
It's access to
You know?
They handpicked 70 designers, and I mean the pool, the talent pool that I'm in, I can't even believe it. I'm like, what? I don't belong here, you know. I'll be at the bar by myself if we're at a party, you know. But I can't, you know, they are very elevated, and you know, I still feel like down on the farm, but
come on.
No, it's fun.
You're in the right place. Well, that sounds all really exciting. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to have this conversation. What I love about you is that you're not afraid of reinvention, you're not afraid of innovation, you're not afraid to explore. And I think that we've really driven that home through this conversation today. So thank you very much for taking the time.
And I just get to see you again. So
and that's always fun. Yeah. I love seeing you as well, but hopefully this was inspiring to the design community as well. So signing off on this end, thanks guys. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
Thank you guys. Good luck.